Hello, and welcome to Alcohol Free Radio. I'm your host, Chris Becker, and I'm excited to have you join us. Whether you are new to the amazing and growing alcohol-free community or someone who is already familiar, we hope you enjoy our program. This is where you can hear from some people making a real difference, whether as brewers and creators of amazing beverages, influencers in the community, retailers, authors, storytellers, and more. You'll be hearing from some amazing people and hopefully learn some new things about the growing world of alcohol-free. We will be using a few segment formats and hosts as we aim to break it down and bring it all together. Our goal is simple: to build awareness about this great community and help make alcohol-free fun, easy, and tasting great. So here we go. Enjoy. Hey everybody, this episode of Alcohol Free Radio is a chance for me to get to talk to Alexis Scott, who I've worked with Better Roads and with some other business activities, getting a sense and learning about her expertise in business to business and how to leverage LinkedIn for your business. So for you makers out there who all have your own businesses and are founders, hopefully you'll find this interesting. Hey everybody, welcome to Alcohol Free Radio. I'm excited to have Alexis Scott here with us, a LinkedIn marketing expert and founder of Heritage Narrative, her LinkedIn marketing agency. Alexis and I got to know each other through working together. Her LinkedIn pitch was that good that I reached out to her. It worked. And we've been doing some stuff together. So hopefully we'll hear a bit more about that. And why I've asked her on the show, but welcome, Alexis.
Thanks so much, Chris. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Boise, Idaho.
Nice. I've been hearing a lot about Boise and Idaho but the Pacific Northwest, but also, I think you live where a lot of people want to be living, but don't. They live over here or elsewhere in the country. So, is it as good as people say it is, or that I read?
Vote yes. We moved here a little over 7 years ago, and I remember when my cousin moved here, so she was the trailblazer.
Okay.
And I remember when she told me I'm moving to Boise, all I could think was brown and potatoes. And I just thought, why?
Yeah.
Why on earth are you moving there? I'm from San Francisco, born and raised, city of.
Okay.
And then we started to visit, and I very quickly realized the why. It is a beautiful, safe, clean city. It's not far from the West Coast, so we can always pop home and say hello to our family over there. Right. It's just an incredible place to raise your own family. So if you have kids, this is like the best place to live, I think.
Very cool. So as I said, we met by hearing and seeing you on LinkedIn and what you were doing. So I definitely want to dig into that and talk about business-to-business marketing and how LinkedIn can be used, how it is used, and maybe where you see it going. But before we get there, tell us a bit about your background and what you did before you started Heritage Narrative and your creative and your work as a founder.
Totally. My background actually started in hospitality sales. So I was a salesperson for many years. That career ended softly when I moved here to Boise, and I very quickly realized hospitality isn't a booming industry in Boise, Idaho, and I pivoted. I took a marketing role, and it wasn't the right fit, but it was my first remote role, which was really interesting. So I learned the value of remote work and the possibilities there. I ended up taking a job about 6 months later with a travel tech company based here. So I was in sales, building out partnerships, and it was an incredible experience. I lived through an acquisition and built a team. And at the time I got laid off due to COVID, I was managing 7 managers, 70 reps, and building out reservation sales for the largest vacation rental management company in America. So that was kind of where my life changed. I got laid off due to COVID, and I just knew LinkedIn was going to be the avenue that I got hired again. And at the time, no one was hiring. So you can imagine I'm on this platform, no one's hiring. It's just a bunch of people looking for connection when we were all so very isolated. And I thought, I'm just going to tell my story. And so I started posting, and I started telling stories about unemployment and interviews that I was having and conversations I was having and navigating unemployment. And people started noticing. and I started getting invitations for more interviews, but I also started getting invitations for podcasts and webinars and people wanting to hear my story. And so I just kind of knew there was something very powerful there. Now, throughout that process, I became very passionate about the hiring process. Very, very passionate. It was challenging and tough, and anything I could do to help other people get hired was really important to me. And I ended up landing at an organization that trained people in software sales and then helped them get hired. So again, in the tech space, but really following my passion, which was helping people get hired. And so that job was a sales job. It was a partnerships job. I was building relationships with company founders, heads of sales, heads of HR, really, C-suite executive presence partnerships. And through that, I continued to build my LinkedIn presence, capitalizing on these partnerships, capitalizing on the relationships, and really solidifying my network. And again, telling my story. That was a critical piece of it. So at this point, I'm building my audience. They're bought into what I'm doing and the changes and how I'm helping people. And this was during the Great Resignation that I too decided to resign. With the Great Resignation. I had kind of reached my peak at that organization. I knew there wasn't room for growth, and I was ready for change. So I took a little bit of time off to kind of figure out what I wanted, and I ended up landing at a tech company in marketing. I thought, okay, I've been doing sales for many, many years. Let's dip my toes in marketing and see what's what. Now, in tech, marketing is very segmented, right? It's all about specialists, not necessarily generalists. And so I knew inherently my specialty wasn't like technical demand gen, data analysis, revenue operations. Like, that's not me, but content was something that I knew inside and out, and I knew how to tell a compelling story. I knew how to get people bought into the brand, bought into the founders, and I thought, this is amazing. So I joined that company with that intention. They had just raised funding and they were ready to grow, and joined that team, and it was fine. I would say there was a lack of alignment there with kind of their language and, how this was all going. So long story short, I lasted there about 6 months before I decided to start a side hustle. I knew I needed something more. So I started a company back to my true passion project, which is helping people get hired. And it's a company called the Fairy Job Mom. And it's really teaching job seekers how to market themselves. So it's not like, yes, you work on your resume and yes, you work on your LinkedIn profile, but that's not really the heart of how you're going to get hired. That's a step along the road. You need to know how to tell your story. You need to know how to become a compelling presence and attract opportunities to yourself. And so that's really what I teach people. Now, through that and through, again, my content, I had people reaching out to me saying, hey, I see what you're building on LinkedIn. Can you help me with that? Can you help build for me?
Yeah.
And I remember my first client, I was so nervous when she reached out to me and she's like, literally, can you do for me what you did for yourself? And I thought, I don't know. No one has ever asked me that before. So I had a conversation with a fellow marketer, a former colleague, and she said, Alexis, just send her a proposal. Just see. If she says yes, you're meant to do this. If she says no, it's not meant to be. And she said yes. And so that started my second side hustle at the time, which was ghostwriting. Fast forward, a year and a half, 2 years almost, and I now have more ghostwriting clients. I now have corporate LinkedIn content clients. And that's what prompted me ultimately to start Heritage Narrative, because I knew it needed its own entity at the scope that it was at, aside from the Fairy Job Mom. So when you reached out to me, Chris, that was still under the umbrella.
Well, exactly. Yeah. That's what I remember was, it was funny because the connection, and this is where I want to dig in, it was the Fairy Job Mom, which had nothing to do with really what I was interested in, but that didn't really stop me because the message was so compelling. And I forget the exact post. I don't know if you remember, but it was something about the post. It really wasn't a pitch. It wasn't like, hey, 10% off your next 10 posts, come click here. Like it wasn't even an advert. It was content, but it was kind of meta. And it was like in the content was a draw to make me realize that what I was seeing was what I wanted for better roads. And that made me reach out, which was that alone, that very fact that it was a piece of content that caused me to think this is what we need for better roads was the pitch. Which when I say it's meta, it was because it wasn't actually a pitch. it was seeing content that pitched me kind of almost subliminally. So I'd love to dig into that because, and then yes, you built your brand about that and the service that you were offering, but you were already doing it before Heritage Narrative was, a business or a brand. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I think it's important to distinguish two things. There's two types of content when you're creating on social.
Okay.
There's content that's meant to help you grow your audience, and then there's content that's meant to sell. And they are similar but different. So I really try to infuse both into my writing, but there's a time and a place for each, right? So there are days where I really just want to connect with my audience. I want to be relatable. I want to show them that I understand them and what they're going through. And I oftentimes want to offer inspiration because so many of us are, going through something. All of us, 100% actually, are going through something at some point in time, right? And so I think that is something that sets me apart from other creators is I do that through storytelling, through my own story and my experiences that some people go, how in the hell are you sharing this on LinkedIn? Like, who are you? What is this? This is not business. Well, what I have found is when I am just Alexis and not polished, professional, perfect Alexis, people are more drawn to me.
Yeah,
and
it's authentic.
That's just my personal experience. Some people are not comfortable with that, and that's totally fine. But what I have found is that is what has grown my audience and also what has made people feel comfortable coming inbound to ask me to work with me. So 100% of my business is inbound leads at this point.
Wow. Okay.
So take with that what you will, but that is the power of content. Now, when we look at sales copy, which is essentially the other types of posts, and it could have been what drew you in and it could have been a combo of both, but that is focused on the transformation. So that is, here's what some people are going through, but here's also how I help them. And if you might perhaps think that I could help you, let's have a conversation. And so that's the style of writing that leads to someone knocking on the door. But often it's not just one post. It's a culmination. And I actually asked, I did a little survey because, you're always trying, as a business owner, trying to figure out, like, how can I do more of this, right? I sent my clients text messages and I just said, hey, I'm just curious. Why did you choose to work with me instead of any other ghostwriter, any other content creator, what have you? All of them said, because of the content that you put out. And most of them also included, I had been following you for months, consuming.
Okay, that's interesting because I hadn't been. So I want to kind of broaden this into, and I should have checked which post we were did it before we had this conversation. But it was a while ago, and I want to talk about, so a lot of people that I usually have as guests are makers, but they're also founders. They're business owners, but they're in the non-alc beverage business. They've got their brand or brands, but they've got a business to run, and they need to market their business just like they do their brands to consumers, but a lot of their customers are distributors and retailers and you name it. So when I think about them and maybe even broadening it to the health and wellness community, try to kind of take what you're talking about and think about those types of clients. And we can use me as an example. But I hadn't been following you, and there was something about the message. The content was really just, A, it was authentic, and it was B, it was about marketing business, like the struggles and challenges of it. And I think it was kind of about that. That's what the content was about. How do you even begin that? So you've got a new client, let's say it's a beverage maker in the health and wellness space or non-alc. How do you start? What do you typically see in terms of going in with a potential client for the first time? And if you were to coach people, like where would you say, before we can even get to you growing your audience or getting real leads through LinkedIn, what do you need? What do you typically see as the challenges that a founder would first have to deal with?
There's kind of three that I see all the time. The first is they're nervous. They're nervous to remove the mask. They're nervous to write. They're nervous that they're not good writers. It might not be, professional enough.
Okay.
And so there's like a performance issue.
Okay.
Like fear of performance, right? The second is time. They see social media as a time suck, and it's like, well, why do I need to be on there? What am I going to get out of it? What's the ROI? Social media is long tail, right? you're probably not going to see massive results right away. And that's okay. That's normal. But you build your brand and you build your authority and you build thought leadership over time. So there has to be a commitment of not just 30 days. I mean, it needs to be months and months.
Okay.
That's the second piece. And then the third piece is not necessarily a challenge for most people because you've already kind of picked your business, but you have to be really clear on what do you want to be known for. So yes, you're going to be known as a maker. Or yes, you're going to be known as a founder. But what are your differentiators? What makes you unique? You're not just going to talk about your business, your business, your business. So you need to think about what are the other things that you're passionate about. It could be leadership strategies. It could be volunteering. It could be investing. It could be entrepreneurship. But you need to think about your various content pillars and kind of the themes that are going to run through everything that you put out there. And also, why would someone want to follow your story? What about that is unique and interesting? And everybody has those. Every single person is unique and interesting in some way. And so being able to sit down with me and just kind of talk through it and strategize and say, like, here's what I want to be known for. Here's the persona that I want. Here's what I'm passionate about. Here's what's interesting to me. And then we kind of figure out those lanes, but also how to integrate it. Because you don't want it to also feel like, where did this come from? What's this guy talking
Say more
about?
about integrate it. What does that mean?
So,
what does that look like?
It looks like storytelling, number one, but number two, it looks like relating lessons to your business, right? So like oftentimes I will tell a very personal story, but I will always 100% of the time relate it to some sort of a business lesson, if you will, right? What is the takeaway that I want someone to have with this?
Right. Okay. So it's connected back.
Yes. So everything should always sort of intertwine with your professional presence because that's what LinkedIn is, right? It's a professional platform. But at the same token, the more you can connect your personal passions and interests, the more interesting you become to your audience.
Right. What, as you've done that how long has Heritage Narrative been going?
Official, it's been like 5 months. I mean,
Okay.
I've been ghostwriting.
But you were
for
doing
years.
some of it before. So with that
Yeah,
experience,
Yeah.
going through that with various business owners, founders, what has been, and this point about authenticity, because I've seen this on other platforms too with Instagram where somebody's, it's either being, you're telling the truth and it's out there and maybe people don't like it. And people get, there's trolls and all that kind of stuff. So you can start to get flamed on things if you're making your opinion known. And then also the part about you're kind of showing your authentic self. How's that been when it's you coaching others to do that? And in that, and in working with others, what have you learned through that process as you've been kind of taking what you've done yourself and consulting and bringing that agency approach to others?
Yeah.
What has surprised you? What challenges have you found that were much harder than you expected, or what's been a big opportunity that you didn't know about until you got down that journey?
I think my favorite clients are the clients who trust the process. So they're not the clients who are texting me going, oh my God, no one's liking my post, or oh my God, this got so many, whatever.
Right.
That's fine. And quite frankly, the higher up you are selling into the food chain of corporate America, the less engagement you are probably going to get because they're like you. They're not liking and commenting every single post, and they're just scrolling and they're consuming and they're just mental note. I like this person. Maybe I'll follow them. What have you, right?
Yeah.
The second piece that I have found is the clients who use it as an opportunity to build community are also the most successful. So they're not just interested in sticking out a piece of content and praying, right? Posting and praying doesn't work. They then go out and they start talking to people they want to talk to, whether that be DMing, whether that be commenting on posts, liking posts, resharing things. They become an active member of the community that they want to be a part of. Yeah. And they become known. So like, I'll give you an example. My OG ghostwriting client, she is in the travel space. And when we first started, she was an author, totally unrelated. And she had just started this company and she just knew, like, again, LinkedIn, I got to start, talking to investors. LinkedIn is part of this, what have you. And so as we started to craft her content and continue to beat the drum, right? We had our content pillars, we started talking. She started getting invited to speak on panels at conferences. And when she would go to these conferences, people would start saying to her, "Oh my God, I've seen you. You're on LinkedIn. I've seen your content."
Okay.
And she would get so excited because she's like, "Holy shit, it's working." Like, oh my God. Like,
Wow.
they might not be commenting on it, but in person, they're like, "I know you." And so over time, it's like an investment, it compounds. And so now she's just not on panels. Now she's the main speaker. Now she's got other opportunities. Now, her business is growing. She's in multiple markets now. Like, all of these things have taken time.
Okay. Tell me about that, because I'll use me as the example, probably not the perfect client. So I'm a poster and prayer more. Let's use your OG as an example of where they are now.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that I know enough to know that posting and praying doesn't work, but it's more like I don't get a thrill out of engaging on LinkedIn or checking with content. I'm doing more of what you're saying. I'm kind of scrolling, looking for a few things. I'll like things, but I'm doing it more as I feel I'm doing it as a favor, or it's certain things I know that I want to promote because it's businesses I'm affiliated with or whatever. How do you go from, so I'm the poster and prayer, but I want to be where your OG is. How do you motivate a client like me when you know it? Let's say they've got the basic pillars and they've got, whether it's me or another maker in the non-alc or health and wellness space. Are there trigger points where they start to see, because if you're not into it and you're not motivated and you don't feel like you're enjoying it, it's hard to, it's like going to the gym. So where do you see kind of the light bulb moments for clients that kind of motivate them along the path to get from posting and praying to, wow, it's really working?
Yeah. So I liken it to going to the gym or losing weight, right?
Yeah.
At first it sucks. It's really hard. It doesn't make you excited. It makes you sweat and it makes you uncomfortable. And you're like, ugh, I hate this. Yeah. Right. But, I recently heard an author speak of a book called Tiny Experiments, right? And the book's premise is that in life, we often approach success very linear. And the reality is, if we approach success like scientists, and all we wanted to do was collect data, we would actually find a lot more success. And so what I encourage people to do is to set parameters and do tiny experiments. So, okay, for the next month, you're not going to post and pray. You're going to do X comments a day, X reposts a day, X this a day. You're going to spend X amount of time a day. And as long as you're hitting your metrics, you can pat yourself on the back and say, I've done what I need to do here. But the key is consistency. So do that every single day for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You pick your predetermined amount of time. And if at the end of that time, you look back at the data and you say, this was stupid, it was a complete waste of time and nothing happened, then either one of two things needs to happen. Either one, you decide, this just isn't for me, and I don't think anything I'm change is going to make it work. Or you look back at the data and you say, that's interesting. These things worked for me. I liked that. And these maybe didn't. So maybe I'll just do more of this and not more of that as I continue on this journey. Then you reset your tiny experiment. Collect that data again. What are we learning? What are we learning as we go? What's working? What's not working? How do I tweak it so that I feel good about it? It no longer feels like I hate this every single day of my life, and what have you. Now, I'm a very firm believer that you will see results, because if you are doing what you are meant to be doing, it can't not work unless something is drastically wrong with your content or what have you. So that's my take on it. I think
that's fair. And because I know I've done it and then I stop and then I got to try it. So you got to do it. I think that's a big one. So you just have to realize that this is an effort that you have to make if you want to improve, just like gym or nutrition. It's a business. It's a business task. It's a business job you got to do. Just like we all have fun parts of the job and we don't. Let me make it a bit more personal, and I don't know if my experience is going to apply to other clients you have, but part of me is more like there's a hesitation. It's worse, apprehension that people are going to disagree with whatever I post about and certainly comment about. Like when I post, if I'm confident in what I'm saying, if it's an area of expertise I'm a bit comfortable with, and I've had those debates in public before, I'm happy to do that. But even then, I'm a little apprehensive. If I'm commenting on other people's content, I'm definitely way more apprehensive that I'm going to get into a flame fight with somebody. I would probably just disengage, but let's just say it happened. The thought of somebody disagreeing with me in a comment chain, even though maybe it's just a silly, it's not real, is enough for me not to do it. How common is that amongst your clients?
LinkedIn is a professional arena. It is very rare that people take off their mask and get really ugly on there. Now, TikTok, people are horrible. Reddit, people are horrible. I mean, there are plenty of other channels where people are just keyboard warrior, nasty people. But on LinkedIn, your face and your name are attached to your business. Yeah. So people are minding their P's and Q's quite often. So I honestly, I've never had that happen to any of my clients.
Interesting. So LinkedIn itself is, for lack of a better word, a safer environment for somebody doing some of these things. Plus, it has the business payload of having a business benefit.
100%. Yes.
Okay. Anything else around those types of clients? So clients who have a product that they want to sell, they're trying to grow their audience. Yeah. Any tips for people who are trying to get started?
LinkedIn is actually such a tremendous opportunity for B2C brands. Yes, it's B2B, but yes, it's B2C. And just if you can build your personal brand on there, not even your corporate brand, right? We always go into this thinking, I need more business. But honestly, what I have found is the more people lean into who they are as a leader, as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a human, the more endeared people become to you, and the more interested they then become in your business. Yeah. So Better Roads, for example, like I met you, Chris, I got to know you, I got to know Dan. Now, next thing you know, you have me volunteering to make TikTok videos for you just because I think you guys are awesome and I love what you're doing, right? That's the kind of stuff as you build relationships with people, not even about pushing your product or here's a discount code or any of that stuff. Like, yes, of course you can leverage that, but when people buy into your story and your why, they become far more likely to support you in whatever way they can, whatever that looks like. If it's an investor, that's obviously different than someone going out and buying a $20 product. But they both matter to you, right? If you're building a business. So don't discredit the different ways, the different levers that you can pull on different channels.
I remember you said too that, like, I think some people might go down the path of, well, LinkedIn has company pages and I want to promote my company. So that's where that's supposed to happen. I certainly had that percent, but I remember you kind of giving me your take on that. So maybe you can share that with people.
There is like scientific, I think it's like 6.4% less likely to push out a corporate post than a normal post. I have to look up, like the data changes, but basically TLDR, your personal posts are going to get exponentially more traffic and traction than your company page ever will. However, this is where the company page is important. The company page is validation, legitimacy.
It exists.
And it is a stop on your customer journey.
Okay.
So they might see you, Chris, you make a post and they're like, oh, this is interesting. What's this guy do? And then they click on Better Roads. And if you have nothing for Better Roads, you don't have a logo, you don't have a page, you don't have anything, they're like, what the hell is this? This is fake, right? But if they go to your page and they see your podcast and they see articles about your company and they see posts that you've made and they see an engaged company, then the next stop is, oh, maybe I should go to their website and go see what they got going on. Okay. So it's a critical linchpin of where they are in their journey. Is it the end all be all? No. Is the content that you put on there going to get tremendous traction? No. I say that with confidence. No, but. No, and it is necessary. So think about what are the most important things you want someone to see when they make that pit stop on their journey. I always say, number one is, what do you do and who do you serve? That's like a hard and fast pinned featured post. Who are you? What do you do? And can I see myself in that? Can you help me?
All right. So it's table stakes. You need it, but your focus should be on your own personal brand within the context of what it is you're talking about from a business perspective.
For sure.
Okay. Fairy Job Mom, ghostwriting, heritage narrative. kind of where do you see that going? Is there another another business layer that you'll be moving to, or is this really going to be an expansion of Heritage Narrative? And also, where do you see the LinkedIn and content marketing going kind of even more broadly over the next few years?
So LinkedIn as an organization they're constantly fiddling with the algorithm. So I would caution anyone who, decides to jump in, just be prepared for that. There will be times where you see tremendous growth, and there will see times where you're just like, oh my God, what is going on? Why is no one seeing my stuff?
They're all the platforms.
Yeah, understanding that, it is a $2 billion person platform, so it continues to grow. It is a place to be seen. It is also becoming more crowded as people join. So again, just know that getting into it, like you're going to do your own thing, you're going to forge your path, you're going to build your brand, etc. For me personally, I started Heritage Narrative because I was ghostwriting for so many clients. What I am finding is that as I start working with my clients, the scope of our work then expands as they learn about my business acumen, my capabilities in marketing and sales and what have you. I took on my first corporate content client last month, which was exciting for me. It's not that I can't do it, I just hadn't officially done it. And so
when you say corporate content client, just juxtapose that with your other clients. How does that?
Yeah, so 95% of my clients, I'm actually writing personal content for the founders.
Right.
This client, I'm also writing content for their brand.
Got it. Okay.
So it's a tech company. I'm very as you can tell, I dabble in a lot of verticals. I have travel, I have beverage, I have tech, I have recruiting. I have clients, like you asked, where else are you going? I am a woman of many interests and talents, and I'm just kind of letting things grow. Like as I work with clients, as the scope increases, it's like, yeah, let's do it. And also it's a good way to see if I like working with people. We start small and then we grow our work together, and I'm really fortunate. Everybody I work with, I believe in their business, I believe in what they're doing, and so it makes my job a lot easier. So that's good.
That's awesome. First of all, thanks for the time today. How do people get in touch with you if they want to learn more or connect?
Yeah, so my website is heritagenarrative.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My name on there is Alexis Rivera, Rivera Scott. And then if you are interested in the Alexis behind the scenes, you can always find me on TikTok. And TikTok is your passageway into my brain and current events. But sharing it in case you're interested, my name on there is @TheMillennialVoice.
Nice. Okay. Alexis Scott, Heritage Narrative. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast and also working with you, and looking forward to doing it more. And hopefully for those makers out there, if you're looking for support in growing your message, your personal brand, and how to kind of navigate LinkedIn, which is maybe the unsung hero platform for businesses, you know where you might want to start. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Alcohol Free Radio. We'd love to hear from you. Send us a message on social media or through email at hello@betterroads.com. Great to be here with you all together. Take care.